All right, Shalom. First off, give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kadash. Dub honor to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and in sincerity, and the women and children who follow. So, as you can see, the heading, as you can see right in front of you, this lesson is going to be about the coronavirus and basically just an update, and things are really getting real out here, man. As you can see from the article from the New York Times, and this is actually dated from the day, is to February 26th. It says, it's like it. CDC, it's like this is from a couple days ago, from the 25th. It says CDC officials warn of coronavirus outbreaks in the U.S. It says clusters of infection are likely in American communities, health officials said. Some lawmakers question whether the nation is prepared. Okay, so it says this unprecedented potential severe health challenge globally. The Health and Human Services Secretary told Senate subcommittee on Tuesday. He said it's an unprecedented potential severe health challenge globally around the world. So it can really get real. And, this article really goes into it, as well as I'm going to get into some other things. But when you start reading it, it says the federal officials starkly warned on Tuesday that the new coronavirus will almost certainly spread in the United States, and the hospitals, businesses, and schools should begin making preparations. All right, so your everyday life will be affected by this, is what they're saying. Okay, it's not so much a question of if this will happen anymore, but rather more of a question of exactly when this will happen. Dr. Nancy Messonnier, director of the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, said in a news briefing. She said that cities and towns should plan for social distancing measures, like dividing school classes into smaller groups or students, or closing schools altogether. Groups of students, Slovakia, or closing schools altogether. Meetings and conferences may have to be canceled, she said. Businesses should arrange for employees to work from home. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I work in a call center environment. At any given time, it's, 100, 150, damn near 200 people in the building. That's a conducive environment for the coronavirus to spread. I did a lesson earlier about how the flu spread in Nebraska, and it was rampant at my job, man. Everybody was getting sick left and right. So you can imagine something as dangerous as the coronavirus, how fast that would spread in an environment like that, or in a school, or if you go to like a concert or something like that. Public places, the grocery store, movie theaters. You're not gonna be able to just go up and go to these things anymore. All right, once this plague hits America, life is gonna change in an instant. Okay, it says shortly after the news conference, stock markets plummeted for the second day as investors dumped stocks and turned to the safety of government bonds. All right, so this thing is so big, it can definitely cause multiple prophecies to come to pass. And I do got a couple scriptures I want to go over, so we're gonna put a pause on this and we're gonna go over to some of the scriptures that I got. Let me see. So Jeremiah 28:8, it says, the prophets that had been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war, of evil, and of pestilence. All right, and that's what we're facing right now, man. America is definitely facing a war. Kingdom, it's a great kingdom and it's facing war. We have the World War III going on with Trump. What he did earlier this year to the Iranian official. You have China on edge. You have Russia on edge. All these countries are circling basically preparing for war, preparing their people for war, and preparing their soldiers and armies and all the other branches of um, their army for war. Okay, it says, and of evil, of bad times, because we got some definite bad times coming. Jacob's trouble is the time that never was, all right, and never shall be again, and that's what's coming to America. All right, that's what is the people have to look forward to. And this article is really breaking it down. It says in a pestilence, and this pestilence, or the coronavirus, this it's like this new strand of the coronavirus. It's there's no cure for it, and it's taking over. It's taking over China. China's been on lockdown. You got all the people on the different ferry boats and the cruise ships. All right, South Korea has an outbreak. Italy, different cities in Italy are on lockdown, and it's saying that it's gonna be like that here too. And also got another article that I wanted to go over slightly, which is dated from today, backing it up. Like I said, let me see. So what's next? This is Matthew 24:6. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled." Just like everything I just said about the rumors of wars that are going on right now. For these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right, so this is the beginning of wars, man. The beginning of sorrows. It's gonna happen. It's bound to happen. All right, but it said that the end is not yet. All right, and then I want to just jump down to verse 12. It said, "And because of iniquity, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." And when you watch that movie Contagion, that's exactly what happened, man. The love of many was waxing cold. People really didn't care. They were only concerned about themselves and their families. And that's what's going to happen out here, man. People are going to go back to, like it says in Isaiah, how they're going to go back to their own nations. All right, people are going to stick with themselves. They can't be concerned about you because you might have the coronavirus. You might be an op. You might be one of those people that's trying to stop them from getting where they need to be. So at the end of the day, they really can't worry too much about you. So let me see. This is actually a good one. And really, I think I'm gonna pull up the scripture. Do I have? All right, so let me see. Here we go. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, starting at 2. It says, "And the Lord answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." That's right, man. These visions, these prophecies, they are set for a specific time, an hour, and day that they're going to come to pass. Okay? And this very well can be the dawn of a new super virus, a super bug that plagues the earth, that takes over, all right, that pops everything else off. All right, so I'm going to jump down here to verse 6. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against them, and a taunting proverb against them, and say, Woe unto him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with the clay." Okay, so that's talking about debt. That's talking about how this society is trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. All right, and what did it just say in the article, which is why I brought that point out. It says that shortly after the news conference, stock markets plummeted for the second day as investors dumped stocks and turned to the safety of government bonds. The S&P 500 fell by more than 3%, following a 3.4% slide on Monday, the worst day for Americans since February of 2018 in 2 years. Okay? In 2 years, that's the worst day in 2 years. So this is already had effect on the stock markets. So this effect can be a lasting effect, and it can cause the dollar to crash, which would force them to have to bring into a new currency, which we know would be the RFID chip. All right, so that's opening the door for that, as well as um, other prophecies, which we're going to get to as well. Let me see, because some of this, I'll put the article in the description so you brothers can check it out. Some of this I'm not going to read them for time's sake. Yeah, so Trump said that people are getting better, that they're all getting better. But it says that as of Tuesday in the United States has just 57 cases, 40 of them connected to the Diamond Princess cruise ship, overwhelmed by the coronavirus after it docked in Japan. It says those patients are in isolation hospitals, and there are no signs of sustained transmissions in American communities. I'm glad it just said that, because we got this next article we about to hit them with, because it said that they're in isolation hospitals. And here in Omaha, we have the Nebraska Medical Center, and that's where they sent everybody with the Ebola. They didn't send people here for the coronavirus as well, and they've also sent them to Camp Ashland, which is probably like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes from here, um, in isolation as well. So they're just setting a precedent for quarantine, for martial law, for all of that. Because once you say, all right, pockets of people can't come outside, this whole community, y'all can't come outside, then nobody goes to work. All right, how do you get up and go to work if you're on quarantine? Businesses shut down. Okay, people lose money, and this is going to be nationwide. It's not going to be just confined to a small city. So that's why I said jobs need to prepare their workers to work from home if possible. Because if you're doing labor for the company, of course you can't work from home. But if you're just like talking on the phone, it's nothing for them to have to give you a computer or a laptop or something like that and set you up that you can take your calls from home. So that's a distinct possibility. But let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to get in here. It says we cannot hermetically seal off the United States to a virus. Alex Alazar II, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, told the Senate panel on Tuesday, and we need to be realistic about that. So that's basically saying that there's no way that they can just stop the coronavirus from coming over to America and doing what it's doing. So I'm glad that it said, like I said before, up here where it says that it's no signs. The patients are in isolation in hospitals, and there are no signs of sustained transmission in American communities. So we're going to drop down and get this next article, which is also from the New York Times. It says CDC confirms first possible community transmission of the coronavirus in the U.S. Exactly one day later in the same paper, it says this. Okay, it says a person in California who was not exposed to anyone known to be affected with the coronavirus and had not traveled into countries which the virus is circulating has tested positive for the infection. Now, if you've been doing any research or just been following along, it's believed that the coronavirus has gone basically airborne, where you can just get it from breathing the same air or as someone that's infected, being in the same room as someone that's infected. Because on those cruise ships, and I believe they use those cruise ships as like a easy bake oven for the virus. They set it loose within that closed environment, and they let it mutate so many times that it gets to an airborne state, and then it infects people through the air ducts. And that's just me with my personal belief. I'm not saying that that's exactly what happened, but it's a distinct possibility, because it was only known to be you had to come in contact with somebody, but a lot of those people were getting sick and they were in isolation. They weren't coming out their rooms. It says it may be the first case of a community spread of community spread in the United States, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said on Wednesday. At this point, the patient's exposure is unknown. The CDC statement said the case was detected through the U.S. public health system and picked up by astute. I'm gonna fuck that word up. Looks like a clinicians. Okay, it says the case was announced shortly after President Trump concluded a news briefing in which he said that aggressive public health containment measures and travel entry restrictions had successfully limited the spread of coronavirus in the United States. Well, you spoke too soon. It brings the number of cases to the country to 60, including 45. Like we read that earlier. Really, that's all I need from this, because there's community transmission. That's all it takes. We know that if you're out in the community, you can get this virus potentially. And the big thing about these viruses, and you should go back and watch that movie Contagion, it's its replication rate, or I can't remember. I think they called it a RO. Basically, how many people will you get sick from this virus? It was like the common flu. One person that has it normally gets at least one person sick. So if that person gets somebody sick, and then that person gets somebody sick, so on and so forth. And then it was going on with the, I think they went down to the polio before it was actually vaccinated. It was like one person has it and they give it to 3 to 5 people. So if one person has this coronavirus and they give it to 3 to 5 people, then those 3 to 5 people each give it to 3 to 5 people. And then, so on and so forth. It can explode and run right through the population, which is why the fear of this virus is so real and it's very dangerous. Okay, so on a matter of fact, before I read Second Esdras, I want to get. Let me see, where am I? Yeah, bear with me. My mind's kind of racing right now. Amos. What is it? The 6th chapter? Hold up. It's the 8th chapter. Here we go. So this is Amos chapter 8 and 11. It says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord." And it's coronavirus is rampantly running around the country, and it's lockdown everywhere. Of course, we're not going to be on those corners. So this is a very big deal. This could definitely set off the famine of the word, which is why it's important that, to do these lessons and get the word out right now while you can, man. And of course, we can still do lessons from inside, but, as far as going outside in the street teaching, that very could come to a halt pretty soon. Okay, did want to make that point before I got this last bit of scripture. Which is coming from Second Esdras, the 15th chapter. I'm going to start at verse 14. It says, "Woe unto the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword their destruction draweth nigh, is coming close." Their destruction is coming close, people. Okay, woe, destruction to them that dwell therein. Okay, it's giving you a stark warning. It says, "And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." Okay. Because when this thing goes down, it's going to bring up all the other underlying issues that's been going on, okay, including race wars, including class wars, all of that. Everybody's going to be against another, like it says. "For there should be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power." Okay, law enforcement not going to be of any use. All right, they're going to be worried about themselves. The government officials, nobody's going to care what these guys got to say. They just want to, live. They just want to get provisions and not get sick and die, basically. Okay, but also you're going to have, once these things pop off, you're going to have martial law. If there's quarantine, then there has to be martial law. Somebody has to police it, and it's not going to be your local police. They're going to bring in militia groups. They're going to bring in foreign troops, everybody that they can get their hands on. All hands on deck. Or it says a man should desire to go into a city and should not be able. If you're quarantined, you're not going to be able to leave. There was a video that I seen earlier. I believe it was a guy in Italy, and they have a quarantine going on over in those cities over there. So, matter of fact, it was Milan. It was the city of Milan. They're on quarantine right now, and they had people walking the catwalk for like a fashion show. I believe it was like for Gucci or one of those upper echelon type labels, but there was absolutely nobody there. All right, and the reporter he picked up his phone and he showed you. He said, "Look, these are all the outs to get out of the city, and they're all blocked. Who do you think is blocking them? They're not just putting a tree down so that you can't pass it. No, it's a military block to make sure that nobody's escaping these cities. Okay, lockdown. That's what's coming to America. Lockdown. All right, it says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. It's going to be a scary thing in that day, man. And if you ain't got the power of Yahweh Shem Shai on your side, man, you're going to fall to the sword. You're going to fall to the famine. You're going to fall by all of these things. All right, like I said, this is just the beginning of wars, and but the end is not yet. And we got to endure this. He that endures to the end, the same shall be saved. All right, it says, like I reiterated before, back in Matthew 24 and 6, it says, or that was Matthew 24, I jumped down. But it said, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right, so people are going to be hungry. People are going to be doing what they got to do to feed their families, to survive. And if you ain't got the Lord on your side, man, it's going to be a scary day that day, man. Like the scripture said, man. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. I just want to make sure I don't have any other precepts I wanted to go over. Nope, I believe that's it. With that being said, I hope you're edified. But I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Shem Yahshai, by Shem Karkadash. Give honors to the apostles and elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect. All the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, and the women and children who follow. Shalom.